That's nice.
Oh, so we've been before. Good to see you again.
Right,
Yes.
if you should all gather over here by in the shade.
That's a Joanne. Nice to meet you.
Hello, Joanne.
You're very welcome to the Royal Ulster Constabulary GC Memorial Garden. Some of you, like Beatty, I've known for many years, and some I think perhaps meeting for the first time. Just a quick introduction. My name's Stephen White. I have the privilege of being the chairman of the Royal Ulster Constabulary GC Foundation. It was founded by law in 2000, the same act that incorporated the RUC into the PSNI, and it has the task of marking the sacrifices and honouring the achievements of the Royal Ulster Constabulary. And we're very grateful for you to come today to see how the sacrifices of your loved ones have not been forgotten. I'm going to say just a very quick word of welcome and then hand over to Desi, who's one of our guides, just to say that we're all volunteers. I was proud to be in the RUC like my father before me. I was an assistant chief constable and covered the South region before retirement, which took in South Armagh and so on. So I know how difficult that area was to police. I'm supported by 5 trustees. We're appointed by the Department of Justice. But more importantly, we have over 30 volunteers, the men and women in the green blazers. And today we have 3 here at the minute to help take you on a guided tour. So without further ado, I just want to say again, thank you for what you did. Thank you for your loved ones and the sacrifice and the service. And we're really delighted to have you here today. And what is, I know for some, a very sad and difficult anniversary approaching. But thank you for coming, and I say now thank you to my guides who are going to look after you for the next hour, and then we'll meet the Chief Constable. And a big thank you to Kenny and Pete from SEF, because I know you do some wonderful work, and I've had the privilege of being in your premises and learning a bit more about it. So again, thank you all for coming.
Without further ado, if you would all please make your way in through the front entrance.
It doesn't really give it the fact of this time, hasn't it? Not you direct me, what am I going to get that first bit? Choose one.
Oh, coming on? I think he would like to, but
The nationalist Catholic community, we call them.
You know, those disciplines all important from like 2 streets away and we would have been after you, and very harsh discipline, and they organised the transfers. They were records was done just where all Ulster is there. They said, oh, they were desperate, they were forever sniffing around your accommodation to see if you had a man about the place. Like, guards up to this point, so I just became available, and it was just sort of turned it up and stopped, cardinal off, and the first box was left there, but people were solid for poems that families really can. We might take you up past that order.
Slip on it.
RJ Graham.
Lisa, come on, Judy. We decided to do the wreath laying rather than walk up and walk back just to save legs. Okay, we're going to walk up and see the remembrance books in a moment in the entrance of headquarters. I'm going to be reasonably brief, but to understand what you've been through over the years is quite hard to imagine. When Kenny first phoned me and I began to understand what had happened, on the 20th of May in 1985 with 4 officers, and I was then a serving police officer in the Met. And what first struck me was the ages, if I talk about the attack at Killeen. So William, aged 28, as an inspector, is a young man. Stephen was actually 19, that's the same age as I was in the police at the time. David was 22 and Tracy was 21. They'd obviously lived incredible lives and were doing something that most people in Northern Ireland couldn't do, which was try to protect society because it was so wickedly difficult, unimaginably hard. But during that period of time, even to be a police officer, to volunteer, to put your name forward, knowing the threats, the risks that you faced, were, to me, literally really hard to understand. And we looked from London. I was in the Met, really in awe. And I remember when I joined, we played the RUC at football in 1983, and we clapped them on the pitch. And even though they beat us 1-0, we clapped them off the pitch because of what they all went through. And then, of course, Michael, the anniversary of the attack against him at the court on the 3rd of April, where we should also remember Kenneth, who was the caretaker who died. Michael had lived a fuller life, been in the tank regiment for 16 years, had settled here, married here. And I know there's a real incredible quirk of fate in that Michael, I've only just met, I'm told that Tracy actually looked after Michael after his father was killed, and who could imagine somewhat 5-6 weeks later Tracy would succumb to an attack like this. So I just want you all to know, and we don't always get things right, we know that, but the Police Service of Northern Ireland, which I want to promise you is an incredible organisation, is the organisation it is, the best bits of this organisation, because of those who gave their lives for us. And because of the 5 people we're here to remember today, I think we're the finest police service in the world. This organisation has been built on the work, the sacrifices, the incredible bravery of everybody that served in the RUC. And that's something I want you to understand, that as long as I'm here, which may not be very long knowing the politicians, but it will continue, I promise you that. Okay, so what I'd ask you to do, and I know this is really difficult, is to remember the good times, remember the smiles, remember everything they were that resonated with your heart, with your mind, the funny stories, what they achieved. They would have all achieved so much more. There are so many smiles that never happened, I know that, because of those 2 tragic dates. But remember the good times. Remember who they were to you, who they were to policing, because they'll remember the good times, and I'm sure they're watching down now, smiling. And we'll all be with them soon enough, by the way. We're all on the journey where eventually it all comes to an end. So I want to thank you for coming. I want to thank Seth for organising today. These events are more important than many people realise. I know you understand the importance of them, but this organisation will always make sure that we are at these events and we provide all of the support that you need for these events. I want to thank Jamie, our piper, for coming today as well. Thank you, Jamie, because Jamie is a huge supporter of these events and always comes out. And of course, most importantly, I want to thank all of you. I want to thank you for being here, but I want to thank you for everything that you've endured, with the grace you've endured it. I find that people who've been through the sorts of tragedies that you have are the sort of people who, quite frankly, should be running this place rather than the people who are, because you understand far more about life and death and the importance of a society that needs to move forward. So thank you for coming. I don't know if Kenny or anybody wants to say a few words, but when we're done here, we'll go up to the headquarters and we'll see the Book of Remembrance, and then we're going for a nice lunch, I think, which I'll get a chance to speak to you all properly. Okay. Kenny?
Well, often at these sorts of events, you always say distinguished guests, and sometimes that's known to be the great and the good. But the distinguished guests here this morning, I think all of us are very clear, are the families. And we don't underestimate how difficult it is to come back. Many of you haven't saw each other ever, and some haven't saw each other in many years. But thank you for trusting us and also the Police Service of Northern Ireland to be here, and of course all the volunteers and support within the RUC George Cross Foundation. I think common remark that we've heard said there today as people come in here is just how still and peaceful this place is. It is an area where there really is an opportunity for true reflection, and it's a credit to all of those who are working so hard, volunteering, the unpaid workers, if you like, amongst us. And Desi were very conscious as well. Desi's own brother was also murdered, so when Desi's walking around there, Desi's also feeling it, as are others whom have had immediate family members and close colleagues. Why is it important to remember? Well, you here today illustrate that, and we're conscious as well that whilst this is a milestone anniversary, every day in life is an anniversary of sorts for families. And whenever that so-called arbitrary cap of 50 years come, when the wider community almost become tired with these issues, and we have to say that that is the case, it will never change for the families and for those that are most close to you and connected with you. And it's so powerful to hear a Chief Constable who's prepared to actually say that this must continue to be remembered, because if we don't remember and we don't learn from what has happened, we don't want more plinths with names on it. None of us in this, I think, would want, and especially you as the families. So just thank you very much for being here today, and please know that there are support services there, and we want to continue to keep involvement with you. My colleagues Joanne and Peter here, and there are many other colleagues, and I apologise also, just as the Chief Con has done. We haven't always got it right down the years either, and sometimes I think families can feel at different junctures that they were maybe left by the road to gather up and to deal with things themselves, and that's on us all that provide these services that ever happened. But all we can say is from this point forward, we want to do better. Everybody wants to do better, and we want you in here to have confidence in us. Our objectives are to care and support you, not to use you in any shape or form. So thank you very much for being here today.
So this is the entrance to the headquarters. This building hasn't really changed since during the difficult time of the Troubles. This would be where the Chief Constable would live. Above us is accommodation, and obviously because of the danger and the threats, this was behind the line, so the chiefs would always live in the flats above here. There's still a flat above here for the Chief Constable. I have never stayed in it, but there is a small flat here just in case anything got difficult, and they've retained the flat. My predecessor actually did live here, so Simon actually lived here throughout his tenure as Chief Constable in the flat above. But my wife and I chose to buy somewhere just out near a pub and all that. So, yeah, to the delight of all the security people, can I tell you. So, when you came in, on the right there are two bays behind glass, and the first one is a memorial book, remembrance book for the PSNI, Police Service of Northern Ireland. And then to the left is, and Tommy's opened it, is where we have the book for the RUC. And the actual medal is also held there. And every morning the staff in here will come in and they will turn the pages of the books, not necessarily to the date that it is, but they just turn the pages to the book. And this is completely coincidental. Philippa Reynolds' name is in the book on the right hand side for the PSNI. And when I come in, not every morning, not every morning, but quite a few mornings, I'll just look at the names, and if we're able to, if the office can do this, we find who the next of kin are, and I'll perhaps call them or just go and have a coffee, particularly if there's an anniversary that's poignant. So Philippa was killed in a car accident. Her parents were away actually on holiday in America at the time. They were due to come back that day. So I went and took her mum and her sister out for dinner a few weeks ago, just to say, look, you lost your little girl because she was a police officer, because of what she was doing. The vehicle was rammed by a car driven by a criminal. So we're trying to do a lot of that, okay, just so we make it clear to everybody that this is such a difficult job, it's such a difficult profession, and whatever we should be doing to make sure that we remember people who've lost their lives or been severely injured, of which, with regards to Troubles, as much as we lost over 300 officers, we've got 300 ex-officers, retired officers with life-changing injuries as well, and we must never forget they have to endure those every day and live with the challenges that they have because of those injuries. So we've got the book here. There's some gloves here. Obviously, the names of your loved ones, this is the book with a date. It goes in date order, so Michael's should be the entry just before. The book's currently open at Tracy's name, and if you want to look at the book, just move the weights back and then turn the pages, but if you could wear the gloves, that'd be fantastic. And any pictures or anything you want to do, please do. There's just another memorial up the stairs for those who are able enough to go. That's the memorial where we have remembrance for those officers who we lost during the war. And there's a few other memorial plaques up there that have also been placed there as well. And my office is just through there, hence the Chief Constable lived upstairs. Through those brown doors is where the Chief Constable's office has always been. And at the back is actually quite a big garden because the Chief Constable lived here with the family, so there's a garden at the back of there. And when we have people who get honours, I'm told this is a dangerous decision because of the weather here, but when we get honours awarded, we're going to have a little garden party in the back so people can come and we can sort of celebrate their families, because we weren't doing things like that. So we're going to do that for those that get honours from the King. So I'll probably pause there. I think Stephen's gone. I was going to ask Stephen to say a few words. So I feel guilty that we didn't get him to speak. But Stephen White, who's the chairman of the RUCGC, does so much work, and obviously I cannot praise enough the volunteers who constantly, I'm asking more people to come and visit the garden, and I never have yet been turned down by having somebody to show them around, because there's always somebody who makes themselves available. So that's really important that we have the volunteers, who obviously are predominantly part of the police family, retired officers. Okay. So, unless anybody wants to say anything that I might have missed, if you want to come and look at the book, feel free to take photographs. And then when Kenny gets a bit itchy, that means he's booked the meal and he's going to think we better get there or I'm going to be in trouble. What time is that due, Kenny?
We're a wee bit, we could be okay around about 2:15-ish.
Okay.
Around that.
Well, listen, take the time you need.
Yeah.
Okay.
You want to speak down in the gardens as well. So.
Okay. All right? Is that okay?
Sorry to cut across you all, but does anyone want to go for photographs down at the Memorial Gardens again, or are you happy?
I'm Gareth Wilson, son of Inspector William Wilson, who was murdered 40 years ago. This event has been a fantastic day, lovely day. It's my first time meeting a lot of the families, the other families affected by the tragedy. Bringing my son along. It's one of the first times I've really talked to my son in depth about what's happened and the events. So it's been a very fitting memorial and commemoration. The Peace Garden's a beautifully serene place and was a lovely wreath-laying ceremony. I've no living memory of my father. I was too young, so I was 3 years old when he was murdered. But for a long time, I think I've hidden myself away from thinking about it too much. It's been too hard. It left a large void in our family. And but recently, having my son and watching him grow up, it's brought me a lot of comfort. Because when he was 2 years old, the age of my brother, and then when he was 3, the age I was when my father was taken, I could see a lot of myself in him. So I know that Billy lives on. He's immortal now. He lives on in myself, my brother, the rest of the family who carry him in their hearts every day. But I'm who I am because of him. And he'll live on through my son. So, yeah. And that's, as I said, I don't have to live in memory of him, but I know I carry who he was. And that makes me very proud.
Thank you, Gareth. Well said. I'm Chris Wilson, Billy Wilson, the inspector, his brother. I was actually stationed here in the headquarters on the day of his murder, and I was called in by my chief inspector and informed of the news. And it's just something I'll never forget. I just remember saying, please don't tell me it's Billy. Billy was the only brother who had 2 kids, Gareth and Johnny. And it just broke our hearts. I'm here today with my mother, Pat Wilson. Unfortunately, my father, Davy Wilson, he passed away some time ago. I have 2 other brothers, John Wilson and Brian Wilson, who were both unable to make it. But I just want to thank SAFF for all the work they have done. they've helped my mother out tremendously. She never really wants for anything anytime. She would get a visit from some of the staff, and they're all very caring. And I want to thank them for today. I was a bit apprehensive about coming. I know Garth was telling me there's an invitation out to go to Newry, but my other brother John and myself picked Billy's car up after the murder, and we're right or wrong, I swore I would never be back in Newry, and I haven't been back. I just couldn't face it, but thank you, Kenny, and everybody involved. I know Michael Wilson, who was there today too. He was my inspector just before I retired. And you're all doing a brilliant job, and on behalf of the family, thank you all very, very much indeed. Thank you.
So I think events like today are tremendously important as we go forwards. I have a new view on life with my young son. I want him to grow up in a country that doesn't just try to wash away what happened, doesn't just try to hide what happened, but I think it's more important than ever to have truth and reconciliation. In this modern age where truth is whatever somebody says at any given second, just because they're powerful and on the media, we're in danger of losing what the truth is. And there's truth and hard truths on both sides, but they need to be recognised, and we can't hide from it, we can't let it go away. So I think we can't hold out much more hope for justice ever happening. We don't ever want time limits on that. But I think truth, acknowledgement of what's happened, and a proper record of it. I'd be a huge advocate for something like what I've seen in Berlin, where Germany came to terms with its history. And they built memorials to it where they didn't hide, they didn't gloss over anything. It shows the brutal truth of what happened. And I think as a country, we maybe need something similar to bring everybody together and everybody to have a true record of what happened.
My name is Mark Rogers. I'm here representing Stephen Rogers, my brother, who died at Killeen in Killeen 4, 1985. Stephen was my big brother, a year older than me.
Your brother Stephen, there was just a year between you.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing that you were very close, best of friends.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you want to tell us something about what he was like? Was he a funny guy, or what sort of things was part of his
he's
personality?
very cool dude, you know. All the girls loved him. Just a great guy, you know. Stubborn, but loss was immense. Devastated our family.
So Mark, I think as two brothers, you enjoyed yourselves as old teenagers do, and the coach was your hunting spot at Banbridge.
Yeah. Funny you should mention that. Actually, recently there was a photograph come up on Facebook of Stephen, and back in the day, in the coach, you know, in his black gear and, you know, spiky hair and what have you, you know. So, which is so poignant because it's so close to this, you know, 40 years and stuff, you know. So we got.
Was he a bit of a ladies' man? Did the girls like?
Massive ladies' man, yeah. The girls loved him, yeah. All the girls. Even this girl says, "Oh, I went out with Steve for a while." I don't remember that, but you know, he went out with that many, you know. So he was a good-looking boy, you know.
And coming back here today, we're obviously in the Memorial Gardens. How are you feeling today, and seeing those other families as well being brought together?
Very emotional. But it's been lovely meeting the other families, you know, because you know, you sort of know. Obviously, you know, you're linked to them, you know, but seeing them today and talking to them was lovely. You're really lovely, you know, so appreciate it. Yeah.
And this lady beside you, this is your good lady wife?
That's my wife, yeah.
And has been your rock over the years, no doubt.
Yeah. With 3 kids together, you know, so they're off in England and we've still got a wee one of 14.
And they know their uncle? They know their uncle through your stories?
Well, through my stories, yeah.
I'm Michael Kay. My dad was also Michael Kay, and he was killed in a car bomb attack on Newry Courthouse on the 3rd of April 1985, along with the security guard from the courthouse as well. That sounded a bit like I was reading the news nearly, but it tore us apart, to be honest, just tore us apart. There was me and a mum. And it just changed our lives, just absolutely forever. The one thing that has brought probably me here today is another family that are here, the family of Tracy Doak, and Tracy actually worked with Dad, and we had met her a few weeks before Dad died on the night of the mortar attack in Newry Courthouse, and Tracy came to pick Dad up when we were called in, and the next time I remember seeing Tracy was after Dad died, and Tracy came to our house as the only person pretty much that came to see me and looked after me and took me out and brought me treats and listened to me cry and just played with me and everything. And she was an angel. And it was so important to come today and just let her mum and dad and her family know that she's remembered even way outside the family, because she was just so special. And I know her and Dad got on great as well, because my mum always said that too, like, you know, that they were good friends. And I think it means a lot when the families can remember that and remember each other as well as the people that they've lost too. And I think it's, especially now as time has passed, it's hard enough to keep the memory alive, I think, even among people you know, but outside of that, people just are forgetting. And as you said earlier, Kenny, about you almost feel that people don't want to hear about it now, you know. And I understand that, I do. But unfortunately, it doesn't work that way for us, you know, and nor do I want it to, because he's still in my mind's eye and my heart every day, as are all the officers that are mentioned here as well and their families, and so they should be. And till the day I die, my dad will always be my hero. and
he lives on through you and through the kids.
And I just couldn't have wished for a better dad. I only had 8 years with him, but some people maybe have a lifetime with a dad that does nothing for them maybe, or they just don't have a good relationship. I had 8 years with the best. He, I think maybe because my dad joined the army when he was 21, maybe a little bit younger, and he was a stickler for fairness and good manners, which was drummed into me from no age. But fairness, I always remember that, treating people the same, regardless of what church people went to or anything like that. I think my dad was English, so coming from that perspective of looking into Northern Ireland as an outsider maybe made things different for him, but he always did when he was in the army and then in the police have a sort of a sense of duty about him. He knew that's what he was good at, and I think he thought he could contribute, and he knew he could contribute, and he did, you know. And because of people like that, we have peace today, you know, and that's a big thing to say. I want for my family now, first of all, that they don't have to grow up in what we grew up with. They don't have to grow up in fear of people from just because of them being of a different religion. They don't have to grow up with those fears being passed down by generations, and they can just grow up as people. And I think we both have that.
Yeah, I think we both agree that we want our two children to treat everybody equally, fairly and equally, and religion has never, it's never been anything politics has never been anything I've grown up literally knowing anything about. I think I didn't know what religion was till I was in high school. But yeah.
You can see why we're matched.
Yeah, so I think it's important that the boys look on that the same, and we've said to them, they're, you know, whatever they are, whatever they think, they just never be afraid to come and tell us. And
exactly, and I think that's
everything's
what we both come from families that on the whole are like that, you know, that each of us have been welcomed into each other's families, and it's been that's so important, such an example to the kids and I think, well, hopefully to other people as well, you know. Otherwise, we're going to have to go back to getting our bags checked and getting searched, going into shops and shopping centres and different things like you had to
Like
in
our
the
boys
80s.
call the olden days.
Exactly, you know.
The black and white days.
And you know, nobody wants to go back to that. Nobody wants to go back to people experiencing the knock on the door every day, you know, or several people experiencing that knock on the door every day. And we can only do that by education and teaching our own children, educating them at home, teaching them about what's right and what's wrong, and not to be afraid of people just because of differences, you know. Maybe just the way things work, you know, it's maybe what happened to Dad and to Ken on the 3rd of April isn't maybe as high a profile as some maybe bigger things, but as you said, to us it was the end of our world. It was devastating, and to Ken's family as well. And Ken was just a man like my dad. I think he was a Lancashire man too. Came over and married a local girl and made his life here, as did Dad. And you know,
And they just wanted to make a living. Like,
that's what they were doing. They were just making a living. That's, you know, when it comes down to it, you know, and they were killed because of the job they did. And for being in the wrong place at the wrong time, I guess, too. It's hard to believe that we actually lived in those times and lived through those times now when you see what we have. But you can see, unfortunately, the attitudes still there in some places, and I think that's what we have to learn from and learn to stay away from too.